Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. Here to edit this raw file and then see what Greg can do with it, and then we'll talk about it. But this is my mouse pad. I needed a mouse pad. My mouse wasn't working right, even though it's a magic mouse, and I figured I need to get a mouse pad. So, hey, I had my head put on one. Maybe if you guys like it, I'll start making them. But this photo that's cool that came in from Rolando, he submitted this raw file for us to edit. And I just know from looking at the file when I got it that I can make this go boom. Let's see, how was it shot? It was shot at wow. What is 7/50th of a second? 1/750th of a second. You can't dial the camera to 7/50th of a second, technically. So it probably was on auto. It's what it sounds like it was on auto, but hey, whatever works to get this picture. You know, it's funny, I'll remind you of something else in a minute, but 1/750th of a second, f16, ISO 12,500 at 24 millimeters with the 18-55 kit lens, Nikon D5000. Yeah, I'm crossing my arms and I'm a little perplexed at the settings because that has to be auto. Why would the ISO be at 1250? And then why would the shutter speed be at 7/50th of? I've never seen 1/750. I've seen 800th of a second. So that's tipping my hat, meaning it's on auto. Whatever. We're not going to worry about that too much right now because we're worrying about editing the raw file. And what it really looks like is a Bob Ross painting with a bunch of happy trees and happy clouds. And look, oh, there are no happy clouds, but there's a happy mountain in the background. So the joy of painting with Bob Ross and his lovely, very soft speaking voice. But what's interesting here, it looks like there's some major dust or something. But anyway, let's make this go boom. What is the first thing I want to do? I want to make it black and white. Just kidding. Boom. Holy boomerific. So I don't know if I want to go fully boomerific. No, I want to go fully boomerific. Yeah. So I'm just going to stick with fully boomerific right there. Change my exposure slightly. I love clipping my black levels because that's what I do. What does Mr. Fill Light do today? Mr. Fill Light. Nope. Don't want to add too much black. Don't like the fill light. I know Greg's probably going to play with the sky. I love the water. I want to make it nice and contrasty and sharp. There's my general sharpening. Here's the nice looking water. Very interesting that it's shot at 12,500 because a shot like this, even handheld, I mean, look at the grain here. Look at the noise that is being introduced into the D5000. I mean, it's especially being shot outside. Try to keep your ISOs as low as possible when doing this. So let's see. Flatness is where it started. Boomerific. Ooh, look how it tightens up. Just look at the look at how tight it is. Look at the colors. It's like a postcard. It's like a postcard, and it's really cool. Oh yeah, no. One more. Let's see. No, too much, but a little bit could do. A little bit of vibrance. Yeah. Hello, vibrance. Cold. Should we make it colder? No. Are these people? Are these people? Yes, that's a person. So and that's a dog. It's a dog, everybody. I like this. I like the subtle green. Look at this. Oh, no, I don't want I want the green, not that much green. But look at that. The blues come out, the water comes out, the reflection comes out, and sure I got some dark areas over there from the black. From clipping. Let's see if I pull back on the contrast. No, I don't want to pull back on the contrast. I like the boomification that I was able to do. I'm not touching the sky. I'm leaving it the way it is. And Greg is going to do his edit, and then we're going to talk about it. Let's see what Greg comes up with. Oh, is it too green? Let me take out some of that green. I just saw that, and I don't want to have to... Aha! It's less green. Greg, your turn.
Okay, so it's my turn. Rolando, tell me, why is your ISO at 1250 during the day? The very first thing I saw with this photograph is the sky. I looked at it and I said, his ISO was too high. I saw that immediately upon importing this photo. It's such a beautiful scene. You're aperture is fine at f16. You definitely didn't need to have your shutter speed that high, and you definitely didn't need to have your ISO that high. Please pay attention to your exposures and stuff, because you'll end up with a much better photograph just by paying attention. Alright, a scene like this, your ISO should be way down, 3 stops lower than that, and that means your ISO may only be at 400 or 200 rather than 1250. So keep that in mind, alright? But let's edit it. Still a great photo, great scene. I definitely wish I was there. Love seeing that snow and the camping. Can't wait. Can't wait. So, I'm going to start out by... I definitely don't like that white balance. Making it a little warmer. I definitely like it just a little bit warmer in this time, and I think that's better. Let's see. That's too pink. We might have to come back and touch this again, I think, but that's too green. I want my blue to pop nicely, and so I'm just trying to find that mix. Where am I sitting? There, I'm starting to see a little bit too much green. That's 16. Okay, so let's start there. All of my histogram is pushed over to the left, so it even looks like it's a little underexposed to me. So I'm going to open that up just a touch, I think. You know what? I'm going to hit the tone curve because I think it just needs it. Those lights need darkened. See, I like the highlights, that kind of big range, but I also like the darks saturated like that. So maybe his exposure was okay, just the fact that his ISO was off. Maybe that's what's limiting some of the dynamic range, because anytime you raise your ISO, you're always going to limit and actually lower your dynamic range, so you might not have quite as much color to work with. Let's see. I think my shadows, I don't know if I can really push my shadows any farther since they're already pretty far up. So let's open them up a little bit. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go back to contrast and give it a big bump. That's looking good. Let's see if we can do anything about this noise. And the main thing that I want to play with is up here in the sky. That definitely helps. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to screw anything else up. And actually the trees are looking a little muddy to me, so let's see if we can adjust this a little bit. Kind of go to an extreme and come back. That's a little better. Let's see how we did before and after here. Yeah, I guess that's acceptable. In this particular image, I actually would consider taking it into Photoshop and editing that rather than doing it here in Lightroom. At a small print, I'm sure it would be fine, but for anything big, I would definitely consider doing it in Photoshop. Anything big like 16 by 20, anything like that, I'd probably do that. But you can get away with it and just on the screen, that kind of thing. Let's try and check my other details. This lighter here. No, it's not really helping much, I don't think. Alright, let's see. I think my sky is fine. I think I want to go back to my white balance and double check it. See, that actually popped my sky coming down a little bit. Not quite as warm though. Yeah, there we go, 62. There we're getting a little green at 19. At 12, I think 12 we're looking good. The sky has a nice balance, I think. Yeah, it has a good color. It's saturated enough, especially up here. It's starting to get nice and dark. But you don't see any kind of a cast down here in the rocks. They look like a normal kind of evening sun is hitting them, and I think the sky reflection in the water is looking pretty good. I might give it a little bit of vibrance. Yeah, see, I think that's really ruining it. Personally, let's maybe try a little bit of saturation in the greens. Maybe to pull out a little bit of that water. And maybe a little bit of the aqua. Just a touch. I don't think it needs a whole lot. And it's even barely doing anything as is. Yeah, it's giving it just a little bit of saturation, but not much. Is there anything else that I want to do? I don't think so. I think I want to leave this color. How's black and white look? Black and white's actually not too bad, but I think I'm going to stick with the color. And any last second adjustments here? Let's see. A little mid-tone contrast, maybe. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's see our before and after. There's import. And there's final. I think that's looking pretty good. Again, the only thing that I would do differently is adjust some of my detail, get rid of some of that noise in Photoshop rather than doing it here in Lightroom for this particular image. Most of the time, Lightroom does a really, really good job, but I think this time I'd like to see that and be able to especially smooth the sky separately, and I think that would definitely help, but I don't think there's any way. No, there's no way we can adjust that here by doing a brush or by doing a graduated filter. So I would much rather do that in Photoshop and select that color range maybe, and and adjust the sky, because I think this down here is actually fine. But when you see all this noise up here in the sky like that, especially in a big print, it might show up just a little bit. But then again, I could be wrong. So worst comes to worst, you need to do a test print. But there she is. We'll see how we did.
All right, and here we are. We have my edit on the left looking mighty green, and Greg's on the right looking
a little, maybe, yeah, it's pretty warm.
Warmer. So I went colder, maybe still a little too green. I did even pull back at the end a little bit of the green. But what do you want to? You wanted to ask me something about this?
Yeah. How did you notice the exposure issue that Rolando had in this image?
Well, I don't know if it was. I mean, the first thing that I really mentioned when I went to read the settings was the fact that it said 1/750th of a second at f16. And to me, that just meant flat out it was shot in auto. Except,
well, it's an aperture priority, I think, which doesn't matter. But
now that I say that, you can't shoot raw in auto. Can you?
I would think so.
I would
think so. The first thing I noticed when I imported it was actually the sky. I noticed that it wasn't smooth, and the sky should be nice and smooth at 200 ISO.
Exactly. Even and the D5000 is fine.
Yeah, that was the very first thing that I saw when I imported the picture.
Yeah, really. I didn't see that right away because I didn't zoom in, and I guess you don't even need to zoom in to notice it. But when I started reading off the settings, I was like, Oh, that explains it. Bright daylight shooting at ISO 1250. Now, it is what it is, and we're here just to edit the photo for the most part.
Yep. And as I did mention, it actually makes our job even a little bit more difficult because it is shot at a high ISO. We have a smaller dynamic range, which means we don't have as much color information to work with.
You're losing detail.
Yep.
And the way that I go up with contrast, we lose even more detail.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, yours is more on the warm side. Does yours look hazier than mine?
Well, you know what? Maybe you know what it is. Is probably the I went a little darker. I played with my levels and stuff like that again,
Right.
my tone curve, and so that made the overall image a little bit darker, and so that may add to the haze that you're seeing.
Yeah, because the first thing I went and I looked at your develop settings because I thought maybe you pulled back on the clarity for a second, and no, your clarity was bumped up.
Yeah, I definitely bumped that up. It could also be the detail because I did play with the noise adjustments to try and help that noise in
Oh,
the sky.
how much? Okay, so that is it. The noise. That's what the noise reduction does. Is it sucks out the detail and smooths it. It makes it smooth. That's why I don't like touching it because it. I mean, at first, the reason I went to the clarity slider that I thought you did because that's what gives everything that glowy feel. But
Yep.
but when you start touching that noise reduction stuff, it starts to take away the details around the edges of everything, which makes it glow and look hazy.
Yeah, the noise in the sky really bothered me, and I had to do something with it. But as I said a couple of times in my video, I would definitely have taken this image into Photoshop and only adjusted the noise in the sky if I would have had that time and would have done it. Just retouch that instead of the entire thing, which is the only choice that you have as a global correction and noise reduction in Lightroom.
Right, and the simple solution to most of this is don't shoot at ISO 1250 on a landscape picture at f16 when you can knock it all the way down, especially at the high shutter speed it was at.
Yep. Yeah, basically pay attention to your settings.
Yeah, and I guess if you're on a tripod, you could play with the water getting all ghosty looking and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a nicely composed image.
Yeah, really like it. It's a great image. And one of the first things I said was, I wish I was there. It looks great.
Yeah, and it does lend well to what we're looking for raw files, files that are capable of going many different directions depending on who's editing it, and that's why we make it available for you. And this is week 12 of making these raw files available in the forum. So as long as you're signed into the forum, Greg, is that new feature functioning?
The new feature is close. I've got some bugs that I'm working out, so if you guys are having some issues in the forum, I do apologize for that. There's some new updates coming in about another week or week and a half that I want to get into before I make some more changes. But I do apologize for any of those issues that people have been having.
So the Facebook Connect thing isn't going yet?
Not yet, but it will be coming.
Sure. So that's something really good for everybody because we know how Facebook is in everybody's lives, so it makes it easier for you to get into the forum in the future. So whenever that's ready, Greg will let us know.
Yes, absolutely. And there's some other cool features that we're going to be rolling out, so Facebook isn't the only one.
Sure. So critiquing my own edit here, I still think it's a little too green for my liking, but you know, I even pulled back right at the end, and I guess it needs a little bit more pulled back to give it just it looks more realistic to me. But it needs more green pulled out.
Yeah, I think mine might be a little bit too dark. I like my white balance better, but I think mine might have been a little too dark.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe open up the exposure or bring my darks back or something. I think that's where my should have been. If we were kind of right in the middle, we'd probably be perfect.
Yeah, again, it seems like we do that a lot. Now, you know, let's see if anybody goes black and white, tries to Ansel Adams it, which would be a lot of dodging and burning and dodging and burning and exposure changing. So I want to see somebody try that black and white in the forum, and let's see what you put up with the photos. Anything else, Greg?
Yeah, I'd love to see somebody attempt to smooth that sky out in Photoshop.
All right.
Without having a major issue, or just do a nice job of it and not go overboard.
Yeah, everything's easily taken well when it's just limiting how much you do when you're editing.
Yep.
Okay, so that's raw edit week number 12 for you guys who haven't sent any raw files in yet, or for those of you who have. They go to froknowsphoto@gmail.com, and we have a couple hundred in there right now that we still need to go through. So as we progress, we'll try to get to all of them, and that is about it. Anything else, Greg, or just that's it?
No, that's it.
All right, so until next week, Jared Poland, Fro knows photo.com. See ya.